During a recent interview, tech CEO Perry Metzger made a bold statement that has turned heads. Do we really want machines that think and feel like people? He talked about how AI is a revolutionary tool that will transform how we solve problems, yet he didn't shy away from its potential dangers. Imagine a future where robots mimic human behavior and experience emotions. Are we truly prepared for such a reality? This provocative question has ignited a global debate about artificial intelligence technology's ethical and societal implications, including humanoid robots. What would it mean for industries, relationships, and humanity itself? Let's dive into this thought-provoking conversation and explore the profound impact of AI-driven humanoid robots.
There are things we will be able to do that human beings have dreamed of since the beginning of time. And it would be pretty awful if we managed to destroy ourselves, not because we created AI, but because we were afraid of it. The thing that has hampered mankind from the days that we first emerged has been that we have more problems than we have minds to apply to the problems. There are vastly, vastly more problems than we can think about. And we only have so many people, they only have so much stuff they can do all day long. And for the first time, we have the possibility of fixing that. We have the possibility that wherever we see a problem, we could apply intelligence to try to fix it. When you have artificial intelligence, really robust general artificial intelligence available, you have the ability, wherever you see something that needs fixing, to apply energy and time and thinking to fixing it, whether it's teaching children or spending an enormous amount of time on that niche disease that only has 500 sufferers per year. You are in a position to work on those things when you have artificial intelligence in a way that you simply could not before. This could be perhaps the best thing that has ever happened to us. And we risk screwing it up very badly by being so scared of it that we make the worst possible things happen instead.
As the tech CEO noted, the world has made some extraordinary advancements. Throughout the ages, humans must accommodate by finding solutions to much more significant challenges than the available brains. However, today's debate has opened up new hopes where artificial intelligence is a unique opportunity. The possibilities of AI are genuinely groundbreaking. Imagine AI-powered solutions tackling rare diseases that affect only a handful of people each year, conditions once deemed too niche for significant investment. Imagine a world where education is entirely personalized, with every child receiving a learning experience suited to their needs, no matter their background. The CEO drove the point home. The secret to AI's potential lies in applying intelligence wherever you see a problem. With its ability to scale and augment human effort, AI isn't just a tool, it's a force for good. But this optimistic vision comes with a sobering reminder. It would be pretty awful if we managed to destroy ourselves not because we created AI, but because we were afraid of it. As we unleash the immense potential of artificial intelligence, fear and hesitation could prove to be our greatest enemies. What problems could we solve if we fully embraced its possibilities? And how can we ensure that humanity thrives alongside this rapidly evolving technology?
One of the things I really worry about is the possibility that, for example, the United States decides to, after a fashion, unilaterally disarm on this and leave all the AI development to totalitarian countries. China, for example. We kind of guarantee bad outcomes if we do that sort of thing, if we're not doing any work on it and we leave all of it to people who have bad intentions. It seems to me to be inevitable that the good scenarios on this stuff involve people doing a lot of experiments and figuring things out.
The CEO made a compelling case that fear itself, whether over job losses, economic upheaval, or existential threats, is one of the most significant risks to AI's progress. History is full of examples like the advent of the internet or nuclear power, where fear threatened to overshadow innovation, stifling experimentation and slowing progress. A particularly alarming scenario is the risk of democratic nations halting AI research in response to public anxiety. We kind of guarantee bad outcomes if we do that sort of thing, the CEO explained. For instance, If countries like the United States were to slow or stop their AI development, it could create a vacuum that totalitarian states like China might exploit for surveillance, control, or other harmful devices. By contrast, fostering a culture of open experimentation and global collaboration can help steer AI in directions that benefit humanity. As history shows, breakthroughs often emerge from bold exploration. Look back at the early days of the internet, a chaotic trial and error process that eventually birthed innovations like social media, e-commerce, and cloud computing. The question isn't whether AI will shape the future. It is how we'll shape AI to ensure it serves humanity's best interests. Will fear hold us back, or will curiosity and collaboration lead the way?
30 years ago, if you'd asked someone, what's it going to take to have something you can have a conversation with, they would have assumed that you needed something that was almost fully human in its understanding of the world and the way that it functioned. Whereas a language model isn't like that at all. If you've ever watched a baby, it takes them a couple of years to go from being able to do absolutely nothing to being able to walk around and talk and feed themselves, or at least sort of feed themselves by the time they're 2. They're training their neural networks in much the same way that systems get trained now. A large language model is basically the result of what happens if you take an incredibly large amount of text and you train an AI to try to predict what the next word in the text is going to be. And that seems very strange when you start thinking about it, because we're used to, I sit down in front of ChatGPT and I ask it to write me a poem or something. What does that have to do with predicting the next word? The way these things work is that they have a window of the previous text that they're looking at. They look at the last 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 8,000, however many it is, words in what you have typed in, and they try to predict what the next word that might come after that might be. If someone was to say to you, I left my car in the, what would things that might come to mind be? Parking lot, garage, shade. There are a number of words that might reasonably come next. What these systems are built to do is to try to figure out what the next word that reasonably would appear in sequence would be. And the thing that's kind of strange and shocking is that if you try repeating this over and over again, the thing is capable of doing something like writing a haiku or a brief short story or an answer to that exam that you took home that you really, really needed to finish but procrastinated about. When people think about artificial general intelligence, what they're thinking about is a system that can do anything a human being can do.
The most interesting aspect of the discussion was how straightforward the underlying concepts of generative large language models, including ChatGPT, are. The CEO said their learning phase is like a child watching and emulating patterns in the world. These systems are nevertheless capable of tasks that seem almost magical, at least to the average person, but they don't grasp ideas like humans. Instead, they excel at one thing: forecasting the next item of a sequence in a given context. For instance, if someone says, I left my car in the model might predict garage or parking lot. Yet, through repeated iterations of this process, such systems can produce poems, solve complex problems, or even pass exams. This revelation highlights a surprising truth about AI. It has been adequately demonstrated that extraordinary results often stem from elementary causes. 30 years ago, the CEO noted, people assumed conversational AI required a system as fully human as we are. Now we know it doesn't.
When people think about artificial general intelligence, what they're thinking about is a system that can do anything a human being can do, as well as a human being can do it or better. There's nothing that prevents us from doing that eventually. Human beings have brains, and the brains are physical objects, and what nature can do, human beings eventually figure out how to do, whether it's flying or crossing oceans in boats or getting to the moon. If things are physically possible, people eventually find ways to do them. The question is whether or not you would even, from a day-to-day point of view, want an artificial general intelligence. There are reasons that you would want something that's capable of cleaning your house, and there are reasons that you would want something that's capable of designing a new car. But do you really want things that are like people? And maybe we do. I mean, maybe at some point it turns out that it would be nice to have companies run by, psychologically stable artificial intelligences instead of, relatively volatile human personalities. Or maybe we wouldn't. Um, that's a choice that I think people are going to end up exploring on both sides of it.
AGI, or artificial general intelligence, is a system that can accomplish any work done under any human intellect. CEO Perry was sure this was bound to happen. He said, "If something is physically possible, human beings will eventually figure out how to do it." However, whether society wants AGI is another question entirely. Perry raised provocative points about its potential utility. For instance, would companies prefer AI CEOs who are psychologically stable over volatile human leaders? Could AGI eliminate inefficiencies and biases from critical systems like justice or governance? Do we really want things that are like people? This question concerns not only a technological possibility, but also an ethical necessity. Humanoid robots could revolutionize industries, from healthcare to manufacturing. They could provide companionship to older people, assist people with disabilities, and fill critical workforce gaps in aging societies. Yet, their rise challenges our concepts of humanity and individuality. How will societies adapt to a world where robots seamlessly integrate into daily life? What happens when machines begin to emulate emotional connections or develop personalities that feel eerily real? Yes, there are risks to AGI becoming too human. If AI develops consciousness, it becomes a person deserving of rights and ethical considerations. This shifts the debate from technical feasibility to moral responsibility. If you build something that has consciousness, you have to worry about whether you're treating it well.
That's a choice that I think people are going to end up exploring on both sides of it in coming years. Can a machine have consciousness? If you believe that the human brain is where, your personality and how you look at the world and how you understand the world comes from. And that seems pretty clearly the case, right? If you get brain damage, it affects your personality. So it's probably the case that human intelligence and personality and sense of self is centered in the brain. So if it's a physical thing, you can probably build computers that have it. Should we want to? That's not nearly as clear, because if you build something that has consciousness, it's a person. And if it's a person, you probably have to worry a great deal about whether you're treating it well. If I have a system that's very, very good at weeding a field, and it's a fairly simple image recognition system and something that kills weeds, I don't have to worry about whether I'm mistreating it. If it has self-awareness and thinks about the quality of its life and all of the rest of that stuff, you have to worry about that sort of thing a great deal more.
One of the most compelling questions in the discussion of artificial intelligence is whether machines can or should have consciousness. The CEO explored this issue by framing consciousness as a fundamentally physical phenomenon linked to the brain. If you get brain damage, it affects your personality, he noted, highlighting that intelligence, personality, and a sense of self emerge from physical structures. If the brain is considered a physical organ, is it possible that one day machines will imitate its functions and become conscious? The CEO accepted the possibility, but emphasized that the potential for generating an ethical dilemma of having an intentionally conscious machine far overpowers its potential. As we approach unlocking the mysteries of artificial consciousness, society faces a pivotal choice. Is it right to actively ignore the development of the world's first sentient machinery, knowing that this would shift human beings' moral compass? Or should we pursue the development of specific circumstantial AI systems that would bring optimal gains while avoiding philosophical questions?
I worry a great deal about the development of things like autonomous weapon systems. I worry a great deal about the development of surveillance systems that are almost impossible to evade. I worry a great deal about human beings deciding to misuse these systems. I worry much less about the systems deciding to misuse themselves. There's been an explosion of research on how you get these systems to safely behave in the way that you would like. And it's all because a lot of this is being done out in the open. The Doom faction risks creating a self-fulfilling prophecy by eliminating the possibility of having a wide segment of the population, a wide segment of scientists, of engineers, of ordinary people look at these systems, figure them out, get their heads wrapped around them, and figure out ways to deal with the changes they bring.
Many people fear that AI will someday turn against us. But this overshadows the fact that humans can also be misused. Mass surveillance systems and other autonomous weapons, or generally an unethical use of AI capabilities, are much more threatening. AI must be managed and powered by good governance, transparency, and ethical practices. For example, specific regulations on AI integration in society can prevent the use of AI in weapon development and manufacturing. AI is a potential tool to revolutionize the world economic system as we know it. Removing routine, repetitive, or risky operations would make human labor more productive in ingenious and complex activities. Most economists and analysts consider this a shift that will increase the quality of life for most people. However, this is typical of any significant advancement. Change will only occur through disruption. Just as some fields disappeared during the Industrial Revolution, new professions and sectors may emerge.
I think that people should try not to be afraid, because people who are afraid do stupid things.
Change doesn't happen when you are stagnant. You must move forward, even when the future may be unpredictable. As history shows, innovation means taking risks and correcting mistakes from experiments and failures. The internet is a perfect example. Nobody could have imagined that social networks would exist when it was invented. AI has the same potential. Of course, this will only become apparent when researchers, engineers, and people experiment with it differently.
I don't think that most people probably should be spending a lot of their time obsessing about, will my job exist in 10 years or won't my job exist in 10 years or what have you. It's not a very productive way to spend your time, I think. Most people end up going through their lives not successfully planning what will happen in 20 years anyway. I have had a succession of plans myself about what I was going to be doing in 5 years or 10 years and 15 years, and absolutely none of them have come true. I think being open-minded and looking around you in the world and trying to take advantage of new ways of doing things is productive. I think spending your time trying to pretend that you can figure out the ideal way to structure your life so that you're perfectly positioned for what happens in 5 years it's never worked. And it's impossible to completely get rid of risk in life. Any of us could be hit by a car tomorrow or could get a cancer diagnosis. The things you should worry about are the things that are very risky, or that you can do something concrete about. I wouldn't worry about AI too much if you're just a normal person who isn't in the field and is entering the workforce. I would try using it. I'd encourage people to, when they hear that there's new stuff around, to try using it.
Forecasts of a dim and cloudy tomorrow can be a horrible business indeed. It is rare for someone to correctly guess what will happen in the next 20 years. It is not about reaching for the best today, but it is about taking a step forward. CEO Perry says, "I don't think most people should be spending much time obsessing about whether my job will exist in 10 years. It is not a very productive way to spend your time. I think instead, you should prioritize what can be controlled, responsible and sustainable use of artificial intelligence. Rather than worrying about job automation or seeing it as a loss of an opportunity to make more money, people should ask how AI can help them develop their abilities and make their work quicker and better. Being able to adapt to change and learn is the cure for anxiety about the unknown that the world presents."
A normal person who isn't in the field and is entering the workforce. I would try using it. I'd encourage people to, when they hear that there's new stuff around, to try using it, to try getting the benefits of it, to try wrapping their heads around it, figuring out how they can use it for their job day to day, to figure out what benefits it can bring to them. Because there's no point in living in an age where such things are available and not taking advantage.
AI solves some of humanity's most significant problems today, but how we interact with it will shape the world's future. Will we fear it, miss it, or master it properly? The example of technological evolution proves the point that only those who are willing to change and willing to take risks become dictators of the future. Adopting emerging technologies like AI through a forward-thinking mindset is the key. Try using it, then think of how it can support you day by day. So, as we stand at the edge of this incredible era, the choice is ours. It should not be acceptable to let fear govern how people approach decision-making, and it should be more acceptable to let curiosity, collaboration, and an ethical approach guide decision-making. Artificial intelligence can be considered to be the single most effective tool we've ever developed. Let's ensure we use it properly, as what we're going to do will change the human experience as we know it. Thanks for watching. If you liked this conversation, like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to comment below. Together, let's build a better world of tomorrow.